Ms. Starzak, there was a report issued yesterday. I don't know if you saw it. It was published by the Associated Press, and it was criticizing the military justice system for concealing cases of child sexual abuse. This report found that just over half of sex offenders in military prisons were child sex offenders, and many of them are serving lesser prison terms as a result of lenient plea deals. More needs to be done to protect children from sexual predators. Additionally, this report highlights the lack of transparency in court-martial proceedings. For example, transcripts and pretrial agreements are only available through FOIA requests, which is obviously not the case for civilian courts. What can be done to improve our military justice system in trying to punish child sex offenders, and how can we increase transparency in the military justice system, such as moving it to PACER or a PACER-like system like we have in the civilian world? And why does a military judge have no knowledge of or no ability to impact plea deals? Would you support changing that?
Senator, I am aware of the article. I did read it. Obviously, any incidents of child sexual abuse is absolutely horrific. I think the department needs to do all it can to ensure that we don't have that problem, that we prevent it in the first instance. And I think the department is certainly interested in pursuing changes if necessary, to ensure that. With respect to your question on transparency, that is something the department has been looking at very closely over the past few months. I anticipate that the department is likely to have a recommendation on that front that will come to Congress, hopefully in the near future.
And how do you think we can increase our confidence in the military justice system? In the context of military sexual assault, you have a 62% retaliation rate for people who do actually have the courage to come forward and report that they've been sexually assaulted. What do you think the best approach is to stop retaliation and change the climate?
Senator, I think unfortunately retaliation is a very difficult problem to tackle. I don't think it's entirely military justice oriented. I think it's very important to change climate with respect to retaliation. I think one of the main issues that the department has been looking at are ways to get at that problem. And I think that 62% is obviously completely unacceptable. Victims have to have a voice in the process. They have to feel like they can come forward. That's critical for the integrity of the military. So I certainly share your concerns with respect to that. I think the department has been looking at the retaliation problem very closely, and hopefully we will come up with some recommendations on that issue.
Okay. And some have used the argument that there are insufficient numbers of military lawyers to implement the Military Justice Improvement Act, and you appear to agree that more lawyers are needed in your advanced policy questions, where you said to address emerging requirements, including special victim capabilities and special victims counsel, the Army JAG Corps is planning to grow. How do you reconcile this plan to grow the JAG Corps to address what we all agree is a top concern for the military, with claims that there are insufficient numbers of judge advocates to implement MJIA?
Senator, my understanding is that the Military Justice Improvement Act requires attorneys at the 06 level, which is relatively high, very high in the military justice world. So I think that there are not the numbers of 06s necessary. So I don't think those two are necessarily inconsistent. I think the growth that we're seeing is at the prosecutor level, is at the people who are actually in court level, not at the 06 level.
Mm-hmm. I think the bill only says the decision maker has to be 06 or above, which is not dissimilar to the current decision making for non-lawyers who are commanders. But the people who involved in these cases can be more junior. But there seems to be a need to professionalize the lawyers within the military so that they actually get some specialized training. In the civilian world, for example, only very rare DA's offices have successful records for prosecuting rape cases, such as the Manhattan DA's office, where they've had a victims crime unit since the 70s. Because they've specialized, because they have allowed seniority to develop amongst their prosecutors, they actually can take some of the hardest cases and actually get convictions. Have you considered a way to professionalize the prosecutor's office within the military so that we can get better conviction rates and get better prosecution of these very tough cases?
Senator, one of the things that the changes that we've seen in recent years is the implementation of a special victims prosecutor program in the Army. So I understand that there is now a set of prosecutors in the Army who are more experienced, who oversee the prosecution of sexual assault cases. They tend to be people with significantly more experience in military justice, and they also do, during the course of their training, do a 2-week detail to a DA's office to learn specifically how special victims units work. So I think that that is an important thing to look at. I think they've certainly been developing in that area.
So I'd like you, for the record, to give me some recommendations for how we can professionalize all of the services, prosecution units, so that we can really make the military the state of the art in terms of being able to prosecute effectively violent crimes in the military. Thank you.